Have you tried the new Pinpoint disposables yet? They're seriously smooth. They're so small they fit in that little coin pocket in your jeans. They're easy to use and they hit just right. And whether you're trying to chill or vibe or take things up a notch, these compact-sized vapes bring the flavor and the effects without any hassle. Just grab one, take a hit, and you're good to go. They're perfect for when you're on the move or just kicking back, and they're definitely worth checking out. And if you want to check out more about Pinpoint vapes, check out pinpoint-extracts.com.
Welcome to Greenway Audio Magazine. I am a host, and my name is Tim Pickett. And next to me is another host, and his name is Brandon. What's up, dude?
It's me.
It's dark out. It's weird, and I don't really like it. I mean, it's nap weather, but, we don't have time for naps these days.
Whenever you say it's dark out, are you just like talking about like the overall like state of the universe right now?
Oh, yeah, I'm not talking about weather.
Yeah. It feels like the plot of a comic book or a superhero movie or some shit like that right now.
It does.
It's just a weird state of matter. And energy in the world.
Well, I will tell you a couple good things. My Detroit Pistons are in the playoffs. My favorite team of all time, Leeds United Football Club, is fingers crossed on their way back to the Premier League. So those are my two favorite sporting stories of the week. But
Cardinals are like 500-ish.
Yeah. It was sad
seeing
seeing Wilson Contreras beg Cardinal fans to come back to the stadium. I get it. I went down to the Battlehawks game Sunday. There was a Battlehawks game, a Cardinals game, and a City game. A lot of stuff going on downtown.
A lot of stuff.
I think it was all 3 losses, by the way. So it wasn't a great day. But you know who's having a great day? The Missouri marijuana market. Because the numbers came out.
You know who else is having a great day?
Who's that?
All the folks over at High Fidelity, because they've all got those Pinpoint extracts, little all-in-one things that fit right in your little Pinpoint pocket. They got those things rocking out for them. I think they're one of the sponsors of what we do here.
They sure are.
Keeping the lights on.
Keeping the lights on.
Keeping the lights on and the highs on.
That's right.
That's right.
So let's.
I don't look like a highlighter for no reason, folks.
I love your style, dude.
Just like fucking comfy shit and bright colors right now. That's the vibe. I'm trying because of the darkness looming over my soul and the depths that I'm being drug into by the universe right now. Right. I'm trying to trick myself into positivity and happiness by wrapping my flesh in bright colors and positivity. Yeah. And I feel like if I look like a ray of sunshine, I'll feel like a ray of sunshine.
Yes.
Also drinking a lot more water and staying hydrated.
Yeah, that'll help.
So far, it's not working. I'm still very sad and miserable.
Oh, but there are some positives to the darkness. They have a new album out, and they're on tour. Come to the Pageant.
Oh, you went Darkness the band. I went Hello Darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk to you again.
So check this out, dude.
March. Check.
12.6 increase over February. Is that right? I guess Mardi Gras.
Don't forget 3 extra days too, though.
Okay. And I guess that would make sense because what are we averaging?
There you go.
Like 4 million.
4.2.
Oh, dude. Oh my God. Look at that. The math just mathed. Like right in front of our eyes.
So in February, we were averaging like 4.15 million per day. Yeah. And in March, we averaged 4.22, I think.
Yeah, right.
So like we still would have come out higher even if they had the same number of days. But it's not as huge of a difference as it looks like. And
Okay.
that's why starting last year, we really started paying more attention to, whenever I say we, Greenway, really started paying more attention to the daily sales averages rather than just the monthly.
I guess that makes sense.
Because the way I've explained it to people is, if the 31st of the month or the 30th of the month or something is on Friday, that doesn't mean that Saturday's suddenly going to suck because it's in a different month.
Right.
And so the daily sales averages are as important, or more important, realistically more important to the overall tracking of the industry and understanding where the market's at than what the monthly sales are.
That makes sense.
Anyway.
Okay, so if we just pull up your numbers here. So March is the third highest ever.
Yeah, third highest as far as daily sales average. Second highest total sales month, I believe. And the reason for that is because November is the second highest sales month we've ever had.
I was curious what the other months were.
Yeah, so December of 2024, we had like $200,000 more, $250,000 more in sales than what we did in March of this year. So that's the number one. And since they both have 31 days, that's also the number one as far as, that's the number two as far as sales average.
Okay.
November of 2024, because it only has 31 days, actually had a higher per day sales average because there's a full day less.
Okay.
And so that's the highest sales average per month, and third highest sales month is November of 2024. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So December 2024, number one sales average. March 2025, number one sales, number three sales average. Because I just lied. December 2024 is not number one sales average. It's number two.
Okay. Got it. Do you know what's crazy? Okay. So what did we say? A day? 4.2.
Yeah.
Like, just think about that. If you just go up and get a little pack of edibles, you're talking $20-30. 4.22 million per day, dude. That's crazy. Want to hear something even crazier? I heard this the other day, and I just fact checked it. If you made $7,000 an hour every hour since Jesus himself walked the earth, so what, roughly, if that's what you believe, 2,000 years ago,
give or take 2,025 years,
right? You would still not have as much as Jeff Bezos right now. And to be even more accurate, you'd be short by $70 billion. Dude, like, just think about that, how much money that is. So we're talking about Missouri hitting what this year as a state? Almost 1.6 billion.
Yeah, we should be about 1.55, 1.6 for the year in total sales this year. And that'll be up from 1.44 last year, I think.
It's just crazy when you think about how much $1 billion
is. Oh, I have that discussion with my children on a regular basis about how much $1 billion is, because we've had the discussion before that, and we're getting way off track, but we've had the discussion before that if you give the average person $1 million tax free, they could take that $1 million. This theory started a couple years ago, so we may have to adjust it up, but average person, $1 million, they could wipe out all of their debt. they could buy multiple houses, multiple cars, debt free. They could probably wipe out the debt of at least most of their nuclear family as far as paying, one or two houses, and set up a college fund for, an infant that by the time they were in of age to go to college would actually be able to pay more than enough for it. Or if you had somebody with zero debt in life, you could go out, you could buy them a $250,000 house, two cars, $50,000 a piece. That's $350,000. You could buy 2 to 3 small businesses or properties and essentially set them up to be able to not work for the rest of their life. And that's with $1 million.
Wow.
It's interesting.
It is. Or you could spend a lot more and go up to space for 90 seconds and come back down for fun, which is what we're doing now these days.
We should probably realistically scrap a large part of this.
I was just part.
No, not the space part. No, I was thinking about the cost of building a facility, and it's $25-50 million to build a cultivation facility, and micro
Is it
licenses.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Especially now.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. I mean, geez, have you been to Show Me Organics facility?
I don't know how much they spent on it, but I know how much a handful of them in the market are, and that's one of the reasons that Osage Kitchen didn't make it, was because they overinvested in their facilities and stuff like that.
Yeah. We're keeping this, by the way. This is a great discussion.
Oh goodness.
Let's see what else we got going here. Hey, we have no, go ahead.
What other I was just going to point out some of the other cool parts of the numbers that we were talking about real quick. One of the things that we talk about the daily numbers and stuff like that. The other big thing that we've really started to focus on this year is instead of, you brought up 12% difference from February to March. Instead of looking at that, we've started looking at year over year growth as the more important indicator. And so in January of this year, we sold them. We had almost 12% more in sales than we did in January of last year,
which would be 31 days.
It's the exact same in every month except for February.
Right.
So
that would be
January we had almost 12% more, and February, even with all the weather and everything, and it being a shorter month because last year was a leap year, we were still up 2.5% over February of last year. March, we're up almost 5%. It's like 4.95% over March of 2024. And our quarterly sales are up about 6% over what they were total for the first quarter of 2024. So instead of looking from month to month and seeing, these spikes and valleys and spikes and valleys and spikes, what we started looking at is, how do we compare to last year? And every single month it's been up over last year. And overall, we're up 6%. 6% of $1.4 billion would put us, an extra 600 million. That, I got to stop trying to do math in my head. 6% of $1.4 billion is 84 million. We're gonna, if we don't do anything except just maintain the same pattern, we'd be up, almost an extra 100 million in sales. That's roughly equivalent to a month's worth of adult use sales. It's off by 15%, but that's almost a whole nother month of sales that we're going to be up at the end of the year. And that's if sales don't increase even more than that through the summer and fall months and stuff. If we just stick to that 6% pattern for the year.
It's good to see any sort of financial trend going upward. So that's great.
Especially with the way the rest of the market, and there's a lot of concern about tariffs and things like that. And while most people are like, well, why would that impact, Missouri grown marijuana made in Missouri?
Almost every aspect,
fixtures, literally
packaging,
like all the equipment, everything,
swag,
batteries, hardware.
Yep. I didn't have any idea. What's crazy? I didn't even know what a tariff truly was till about 3-4 months ago, because I started hearing about how it was going to start affecting cannabis brands. And now it's all anybody talks about all the time.
And there's a couple dope, Missouri, not necessarily Missouri, but 100% USA made and USA operated businesses and stuff like that.
There are.
And not to sound shady, but the reason they haven't gotten as much business is because historically they've been more expensive. So maybe this is an opportunity for them to level the playing field. Maybe something positive comes out of some of this by us reinvesting into some of our, USA made companies and stuff like that. So, hopefully we take these lemons and we make lemonade.
Yeah.
Because I know it's hard on a lot of people in a lot of different positions within this industry and others right now. One of my buddies is a fisherman, and I was like, "Oh, is this really good for you?" He's like, "No, man." He's like, "It's good in the sense that, like, restaurants aren't going to be getting, imported cheap fish and stuff like that." He's like, "But everything I use to run a boat, from line to, netting and stuff like," he's like, "it all comes from overseas."
Wow.
I was like, "Man, I had no idea."
Wow.
So.
Yeah, that's
hello,
that's interesting.
darkness, my old friend.
Yeah,
I've come to talk to you.
Do you want to hear about some of the brands that are killing it right now? I have the list. What's up?
I would really like to hear about the maybe the top brands. Maybe just give me something to really say, hey, there's some people out here and they're really doing the thing.
Yeah. There are some people
lift the spirits.
Okay, yeah. Let me list off some people that are doing the damn thing right now. And beverage, Keef's number one.
That tracks. That tracks.
This is for March. Yep. Keef Cola number one. Concentrates. Vivid. Speaking of Vivid, guess who our guest is today? I mean, Shit.
Yeah, I know.
Excuse me.
I know.
Yeah, it's Tony Billmeyer.
It's Tony Billmeyer, CMO of Show Me Organics.
Yeah. I don't want to gush too much. We'll have plenty of time, but I'm very excited. I love Tony.
That's such a cool company. The way they've set it up.
It really is. Stuff. Do you know what I was thinking about today when I was thinking about Tony being on the show? I'm like, God, we consistently have people on where we're like, dude, I'm such a big fan. I love what you're doing. But I'm like, we're inviting people we want to talk to. Doesn't Joe Rogan, like, he's like, I only talk to people I want to talk to. That's why his shows are interesting to him and all that stuff. Same with us. I like talking to people I want to talk to. That's why every episode you and I geek out on our guests because we want them on here.
Yeah.
Tony's one of those guys.
There's some people that you've suggested that I don't know a whole lot about, but that doesn't mean like I'm not super enthusiastic about talking to them and things like that. And I think the same thing has happened in reverse. In
Absolutely.
this instance, Tony happens to be somebody that, because
We
both of us are
both.
kind of brand geeks,
Yeah.
I think both of us were, whenever we were putting all together the list of like people we wanted, I think he was in the top 5 on both of our
Yeah,
lists.
for sure. Absolutely. Number 1 in
Oh,
flower in March, Flora Farms. Number 1 in pre-rolls, Good Day Farm. Capsules,
they're doing
1906. I think they've pretty
good
much had the
days.
market for ever. But yeah, what did you say?
Oh
Good Day?
yeah. I was just saying, I think Good Day is between the what are they called, the Super Jays, and some of the other pre-rolls that they've rolled out over the last couple years. I think the infused pre-roll market really helped them gain a lot of traction with their products and stuff as well. I don't. I know everybody's familiar with Good Day. I don't know that there was a whole lot of people that were like, "Hey, this is like the best," for a variety of their different products. Um, but I think the pre-roll, and especially the infused pre-rolls, kind of changed that, because I know for both Good Day and Codes, the Codes Extreme little infused pre-rolls are actually really, really good, and the price point's really, really good for them.
Mm.
So just observational, like
Yeah.
a lot of times, I think a lot of times they get a bad rap because they're such a big company, and people just assume that it's going to be, you know, I don't know how to say it any different than the equivalent of like the store brand.
Right.
I think that store brands a lot of times get a bad rap, and I think that Good Day is kind of restaking their claim as showing some talent
Yeah.
with what they're doing.
Well, there's also very close to me has been a rest in peace Steak and Shake that went out of business years ago, and it's just been an eyesore sitting there. And they bought it, and it's redid the whole thing. It's going to be like a drive-through Good Day Farm, and it looks really nice. I think it's pretty close to being open, but it was cool to see them take an old little West County relic and you know, shine it a little bit and make it look nice, and give this this territory out here another good option for patients and consumers.
I
So that's cool.
I like having options for dispensaries.
Yeah, same. Vape pens, Rove. Yeah, I don't know why
I
that
I
surprises
like
me, but
I had the same reaction. So
okay,
don't feel bad about it. I had the same
okay.
reaction because I was like, it
Who's number
tracks,
2?
but at the same time,
Cushy Punch, number 2. I just wrote about
dude,
them
they
for
are
Greenway.
really doing a lot right now,
Yeah.
especially considering that's basically, the I don't know what other products they have out right now other than infused pre-rolls and vapes.
Carts
I know
and
that,
yeah.
yeah, I know they were going to be doing edibles. I don't know if they're out yet or not. But
I don't
they
recall.
just small company, obviously a great brand from
Mm-hmm.
California and stuff, but they don't have a huge team in Missouri, and they are just killing
Number
that
2,
market
dude. I
for
mean,
the last several months in a row. They've just obliterated that market.
mm-hmm. I will say, and I wrote about it yesterday, but I have a little all-in-one when I take my dog for a walk every night at 9. Couple of puffs on my walk. Love it.
What
Um,
flavor?
it's like it's called like it's the OG series.
Yeah.
I don't know if it really had a flavor, but again, I don't know what
I had
good
a
flavor
Cushy
would be.
Punch creamsicle.
Okay.
I'm a big vape guy. We've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
And my two favorite vapes right now, other than Timeless, because that always has like a special spot in my heart and also my shirt pocket whenever I'm wearing those. But I've been with the orange creamsicle from Cushy Punch and this like grape flavor from Steezy. And the two of them together, for me, as somebody who doesn't drink soda anymore,
yeah,
it's like drinking orange creamsicle soda or like
really?
a grape crush. I mean,
Okay.
if you actually drink Kool-Aid and soda, I don't know that it would translate as much, but
Yeah.
every
If
time
you're
I
off of
take
it
a
for a
puff
while.
off of, yeah, I mean, I haven't drank soda other than like a Diet Coke with a hot dog or a slice of pizza once in a while for 10 years. Um, and
Oh,
so the first time I took a hit of that orange creamsicle, I was like, "Oh,
okay.
that is magic." And then the Steezy, I shout out to Steezy. I apologize, Nate. You'll have to tell me what flavor it is, but it's some kind of grape flavor that it just is magical.
Nice. Okay.
Uh,
Then we got tincture and sublingual, Vlasic Labs. Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Edible Groon. I mean, I think they've pretty much had the spot since being on the scene, wouldn't you say? Those freaking pearls, dude.
the pearls like made a big impact.
Do you know who they're huge with? At least what I have noticed. Um, the older crowd, the veteran crowd. Um, just about any parental that I know that uses it for that uses edibles for pain or sleep, that is their go-to. I've noticed that a lot, to be honest. I don't know what it is about the pearl. Maybe it's not as intimidating. I don't know, but that
Eh,
seems to be the go-to.
I mean, it was intimidating to me whenever I saw what looked like a moon pie of a gummy with the mega pearl.
Yeah, not the
Looked
not
like a
talking about the
snack
mega
cake.
pearl.
Looked like a snack
Oh,
cake.
can you imagine?
Dude, I would literally die. Like
So would I.
I'm pre-diabetic. Like I would be in a coma, man.
You know, I've been seeing a
Um,
lot more sugar-free options out there.
Shout out to all the folks doing the sugar-free
Yeah,
options. Love that.
yeah.
And some of the ones that aren't doing sugar-free. I've obviously been a big fan of Proper and especially Chef Dave's honeybee stuff for a long time. Um, I recently tried one of their like blue raspberry things that I hadn't tried in a while just because it was a low dose option that was at the store, and that was really really good. It was the right amount of sour, which
Okay.
I think a lot of people miss on,
Yeah,
is the right amount of sour.
yeah.
um Shout out to Jamie and Smokies. The Smokies edibles, the gummies are always really good. And I had they I didn't get to be a fat kid by not liking candy and junk food and shit. So
Mm-hmm.
I promise I apologize to everybody whenever I don't mention you by name. If I were to sit here and list every single thing I actually like from all you guys,
Yeah, I know.
um,
3 hour
it
show.
would just it's all this stuff that pops into my head. But like the Ada peach rings remind me of the candy from whenever I was a kid. Those are
I know.
that the Fruit Fetty Krispies. I will talk about them every time because they're so good. Crumble used to make these amazing nighttime edible chocolate chip cookies. Um, I don't know if you can even get those anymore. I haven't seen them in a minute, but Sweet Stone always has the best
Sweet Stone.
cookies.
Yeah,
Um,
Sweet Stone. Who is Sweetstone? Wait, who is Sweetstone?
Sweetstone's Heartland Labs.
Okay, yeah.
It's
Right.
Maddie
okay.
and Hayden Piercy, and
right.
they have Heartland Holistics, and
Speaking
I could go on and on. My favorite product of all time doesn't exist anymore. It was, speaking of Tony Billmeyer, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah,
it was the Red Hot Riplets, man. That was the twice baked Red Hot Riplets.
I still got a box of those.
Collector's edition.
You know it.
And before House of Kush came in, they had partnered with Coffee Ethic.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just love that company. Super excited to talk to Tony about some of the things that we love. In fact, why don't we go talk to him right now?
Hey, let's do it. Real quick though, let me just round out the number ones.
Oh,
Mary's Medicinals.
I'm so sorry.
Topical. And I did buy a patch about 3 weeks ago. Slapped it on my back. Worked. Really enjoyed it. So that rounds out the number ones in each category. But yeah, let's talk to Tony, shall we? But first, Brandon. This 420 season, Vivid is bringing the heat with Scratch and Stash. Your shot to win big just for shopping. What do? Let me explain. You buy any Vivid, Buoyant Bob, or Missouri's own product at a participating dispensary, and you'll get a scratch-off card. You grab your little wooden nickel out of your pocket, scratch her off, 2 per visit, max, scratch, to reveal instant product prizes you can stash for your next trip in. But here's the coolest part. Every card gives you a shot at the grand prize, which is $10,000 in Vivid products, plus a chance to win a tour of Vivid's grow facility and $200 in merch. The promo runs now through May 11th, but cards are only available while supplies last. Find out where to play and enter your codes at showmeorganics.com/scratch-n-stash. Grab your goods, scratch the card, stash the win. Good luck. Welcome back to Greenway Audio Magazine. We have Tony Billmeyer of Show Me Organics with us. You are the CMO, sir. And we, too, myself and Brandon, are huge fans of yours. I don't even know where to begin. So let us do the bragging, and then you can just sit there and take it, because I know this probably makes you uncomfortable. But so Show Me Organics, we got Blue Sage Dispensaries, Vivid, Buoyant Bob, Missouri's own. I will tell you, the Valley Park location that you guys just opened, I love it.
Thank you.
I love that location.
It's a really good location.
Dude, it is so nice and fancy inside. Staff's great. And I know, Tony, you kind of grew up here, right? You went to high school here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Blue High.
Okay, so this was before your times, but that huge like rock kind of mountain behind there used to be called Wet Willie's.
Oh, yeah.
It was a water slide. So unsafe. I shredded my back so many times. You'd pay like $5. You'd get like a little mat, and you would go down the side of this hill like 60 miles an hour, dude. No lifeguards, nothing. And it shredded your back. If you got stuck, people, they're really, I don't even remember somebody saying like, okay, now go, like they do at Six Flags or whatever. People were just flying down that thing. And then you'd walk all the way back up, and you'd go back down again. No way in hell that they would allow that these days. But
it's crazy you touched on that, because Tony was actually going to announce that part of his marketing genius is they've bought and reopened Wet Willie's.
And what? That wouldn't surprise me.
That's genius mind. It's called Vivid Slides. and they're actually redirecting it to where you actually slide out right into the parking lot of Blue Sage.
right into the
this might surprise you, but I actually went to I was old enough to go to Wet Willie's. I don't have no pun intended, I don't have vivid memories of Wet Willie's,
yeah.
I definitely went.
My back does.
My sister, when we opened at Valley Park, asked me is it near Wet Willie's? And I didn't remember closely enough, but yeah, it is. It's right there.
How is that not the name of you of the gummies? Is like Vivid Dreams and like Vivid Memories and stuff like that?
Yeah, that would be interesting. But Missouri's own, love it.
You know who we shouldn't suggest branding ideas to out of all the people on our podcast.
What, Tony? Because he has a Rolodex of ideas.
The guy that literally has more Clios than the rest of the Missouri cannabis industry combined. He just keeps them. He just keeps them like little tiny.
Yeah, where's your Clio
on his
shelf?
They're all at the grow, but Brandon, good ideas come from anywhere. Even you, you've
had a couple. Anyone
can have good ideas.
You've had a couple. I mean, how do we even start to go over the list of Buoyant Bob, Red Hot Riplets, which we were just talking about, the Coffee Ethic pods, those awesome holiday boxes, Taste Your Own Medicine campaign, and just to do a little bit of bragging here on Tony. Tony was the very first person to believe in my green frame dream. I called Tony, I don't know, 2021 maybe. And I was like, I sent you an email and I go, hey, dude, I think I came up with this idea and it's pretty much done. We got this 3D thing and I think it'd be cool for Vivid. He called my phone 15 seconds after I sent him the email and he's like, can you get on a call right now? I'm like, yeah, dude. So we got on a call. They were the first people to believe and subscribe and support me and Green Frame.
And they were such a big part of the early launch that we did a whole feature about about you guys' relationship with Greenway and Vivid, Green Frame and Vivid. Sorry.
Well, if you go to vividcannabis.com, every single strain up there is green framed.
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day one all the way to right now, Vivid and Tony have been right alongside with me. So I cannot tell you. I've told you 1,000 times how much I appreciate that. But
the smart thing was sending the beta. The demo was great, and like you know, when you're looking at any piece of creative, an idea, and you feel something, like on that first impression, that's like the most telling thing, and it's like, there's something here. So I think it morphed a little bit from where we started, from like a maybe more bud tender focused and less consumer focused, which was great.
Right.
But it's just like it's a brilliant idea.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that, and you and everything Vivid has done with me and for me and Buoyant Bob. And then, I mean, good Lord, where do we even start? I mean, the Buoyant Bob whole thing was amazing, but let's talk about you, Tony. So were you born and raised here?
I was kind of from like Afton area, unincorporated South County, and grew up here, went to SLU High, went to Mizzou for journalism school. And then I left to go work in advertising. And so I worked in Chicago for about 3 years. And then I went to San Francisco for about 5 years. And that takes us to 2020 or 2021. And like peak pandemic, my now wife and I decided to leave San Francisco. We were kind of looking at a bunch of different places, and she liked St. Louis. And I was like, oh, okay, that's awesome.
And she's not from here.
No, she's from originally from New Orleans and grew up in Austin. So she doesn't really have any ties here except my family. And she gave me the green light, and then was also one of the big people who pushed me into cannabis. She thought I would be good at it, and she's not a consumer, and so having someone like that tell me that this is probably a good path, it was a nice nudge. And I think pandemic had a lot of people re-examining priorities, and that was the impetus for me, was being close to family, and the whole cannabis market was the whole Missouri legalization process I only learned about after we kind of wheels were in motion to move back, and then I met Boston, and I don't think I've ever had like such immediate value and goal alignment with someone as I did with getting on my very first call with Boston. You know, he was describing like his vision for the company, which a lot of it has happened, you know, over the last 5 years, which is pretty cool. And part of that was like building a house of brands and focusing on, you know, building the most dominant house of brands in the state. And it's like, oh, that's you're singing my song. So yeah, you know, we talked for a while, and in the interview process, I brought him a lot of the ideas we executed in the first couple of years. Those were like, I guess that's how I got the job. But you know, Red Hot Riplets was one of those things like that were concepts that, you know, became reality over a year, over 2 years in the first beginning of the market. But yeah, it's been amazing, and I think a lot of my experience in San Francisco and in Chicago working at agencies has helped tremendously, and given just like a bit of a different perspective of, you know, how do we build these brands, and knowing how some of the biggest CPG companies in the world do it is helpful. And I think most recently I worked at an agency called Eric and Coleman, which is a small startup agency, but I came from a lot of the bigger agencies out in San Francisco before that. And so at Eric and Coleman, I had a chance to work pretty closely with some CMOs of startups, and seeing that up close was really helpful for knowing what I wanted to do, A, and B, getting some confidence that like, oh, you know, this perception we have of these like brilliant marketers having like both the full on performance marketing brain and the brand marketing brain, like no one is perfect and no one has all the bases covered, but the best people know sort of what matters and the priority of things. And, you know, I think having that dawn on me of like, oh, these people aren't actually going into spreadsheets and sorting data and in the same day going and writing a creative brief. They're like, it's not the same person. I think seeing that up close helped me realize like, oh, no, I may not be perfect, but I think I can do a great job, and I think I can find the right people to fill the gaps in my skill set and my knowledge base. So that's been great. Now have a really great team. You've met John Kreisbergs as our director of marketing, and he's a killer over in Kansas City, and he came from the agency side. We have hired a project manager from Barkley, Sydney Dower. She's fantastic. You know, we have Jabari and Chase out there, and you know, we've really built like tried to prioritize quality over quantity of humans, you know. And so we have this just amazing team that I think everyone's really rowing in the right direction and kind of all in lockstep. So it's taken a while to get there, and you know, I think that's probably the thing I'm most proud of is the team, you know, that we have going there.
Well, it's you know, it says a lot when it's pretty much the same team since day one, you know, and a lot of companies can't say that. There's been a lot of fluctuation. There's been a lot of people leaving in and out, all this kind of stuff. And you, Boston, Montana, I mean, you guys been there pretty much since the beginning. On top of talking about staying there since the beginning, I mean, when Vivid came out of the gate, you guys were one of the top brands, if not the top, and you guys have stayed up there since, you know, and I that says a whole lot. I know for a fact, I mean, working with you guys and going into dispensaries and saying like, hey, I have Green Frame and here's an example, I work with Vivid. Every single time people go, really? I love Vivid. So it always gave me a huge just backbone going in, knowing that I could bring up Vivid and everybody knew who I was talking about and had a story or a product that they wanted to brag about. So that says a lot. And you guys are still there. I mean, Brandon and I were just going over the list of the top, you know, brands in each and products in each category for March. And you guys are on there 3 times. I mean, that says a lot. There's a lot of brands in Missouri.
Appreciate that. And I think, you know, it's a testament to how we've built it is also something, you know, I'm super proud of. Being an independent manufacturer for the first, you know, half of the, you know, getting into at least through medical as an independent manufacturer, and then, you know, with 2 stores, but then going into cultivation and launching Vivid Flower in conjunction with the opening of the recreational market was, you know, like it's almost fairy tale timing in terms of like when everything kind of happened. And I think I don't think we could be where we are right now without having proven our mettle as the manufacturer, you know? And so I think being the number one concentrate kind of brand at that point, and then going into flower gave us an interesting pathway into the market that I don't think, you know, a new brand necessarily could have executed in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then you turn around and within a year of the launch of Vivid as a cultivator, you guys have the number one selling cultivar in the United States.
Yeah, I guess 2 years technically, but yeah, it happened fast. And I think, you know, we keep an eye on the state rankings of, you know, what strain is selling the best. And Florida Kush has really held that top spot for probably 15 or 16 months at this point, which has just been amazing. And I think part of that is the recognition of, you know, like Montana, and like our team really knows what the consumers are looking for and what they want. And when, you know, we inherited a library of genetics that was really strong, but we've grown that tremendously since then, and that's been a big priority of Montana's. And I think also knowing, you know, from a marketing standpoint, I think one of the other things that we really like how things have shaken out is developing the sort of slate of products across a single strain. So having a rosin gummy, and having a liquid diamond vape, and having like diamonds and sauce and rosin, and all the different form factors of a single strain, I think has done more for us than it's almost hard to articulate. Because if you think about, Tim, you talk a lot about being like a gummy customer. In a world where you are just a gummy customer and everyone's talking about Florida Kush and alien mints and cherry sorbet and the strains and the terpenes and all this, you don't really want to be out of the conversation. And like, I think it's important to acknowledge that customers are fans of strains as much as they are fans of brands. And for us, we've taken that insight and basically built out, you know, from our best strains, best cultivars, we've built, you know, a whole suite of products around each of those. And I think it brings all the customers into the same ecosystem to talk about, you know, what matters. And so when we're talking about a Florida Kush or an alien mints or whatever the strain might be, being able to speak to every different type of customer in the market about those things really helps, I think, clarify what matters here, and helps, you know, push us forward as an industry. So that's something that we're really proud of, and we're going to keep pushing on.
Well, speaking of strains, I mean, what, in the past month, you've probably released what, like a dozen new Vivid strains that were pretty much a result of the in-house breeding program that Montana has going on, right?
That's right. That's right. And I think there are a bunch of winners in this batch. The hardest part is going to be to parse and to figure out what has room in the garden to grow, because we already have a bunch of favorites that we're growing. So I know the cherry sorbet has gone out there and made a bunch of waves. I think that's actually next week should be hitting statewide. So you know, the stores that carry Vivid may have that next week. And high testing, tastes light, kind of daytime type of consumption. And then we have a bunch of other ones. Man, it's just like they all kind of came at once, but this process started 14, 15 months ago. So, you know, in terms of crossing Florida Kush with alien mints and hunting 3 different phenos, you know, all of that takes such a long time. And even to this point, we were only releasing those strains mostly at Blue Sage because, you know, we don't grow. It's a couple pounds each, right? When we first grow them, make sure that they're viable in the cultivation. So, you know, we just released the 3 phenos under Florida mints, and number 4, number 10, number 14. We got one that's like much more like alien mints, one that's much more like Florida Kush, and one that's kind of like different than all 3, or different than both. And it's fun. Like this is you can feel it when those go in market, that this is really driving the culture in the industry, because that's what the super customers are looking for. They're looking for new flavors, new strains, new terpenes, and all that. So it's something that we're going to continue to do, and you'll see more new genetics coming out from us monthly through the rest of the year, and hopefully beyond.
Can you talk about your process of choosing, like when you put those out there, how do you make the decision that's the one? I mean, you got sales data, but I'm sure you're listening to feedback. I'm sure there's other things, but like what goes into that?
Yes, great question. Let's take the phenos, the Florida Mints phenos, for example. So I'm going off memory, but I think 14 tested the highest and is the Alien Mints similar one. Number 10 is the Florida Kush similar one. Number 4 is the one that tastes like God's gift. It's just like this completely new flavor. And the number 4 tests the lowest, but we, as super consumers and as people who really listen to the market, know that, that is something that people might want. So, we're not just listening to ourselves, we're putting it out there, and we're definitely trying to hear what the customers have to say. And so as long as the sort of customer response and sales data supports our hypothesis, we can use our gut to drive these decisions. And, sometimes the numbers don't reflect the feelings, right? The sort of effects, and the effects are going to be different for Tim than they're going to be for Brandon, than they're going to be for me. And so we really do need to validate it, like 5 times if we have a hunch on something that isn't supported by the data. But when we do that, you know, most of the time, I think it turns out that the market agrees. The market does understand what we're trying to do. They do see us as a connoisseur brand, and as part of that, it's incumbent on us to be tastemakers, right? To help drive the new flavors, and so we don't take that lightly. And in fact, you can see through all the strains that have come through, that's a fraction of what we've tried. So not everything comes to market, and if it doesn't sort of live up to our rigorous standards, then it just won't go out. So that's kind of where we how we do it. It's part science, part art, but it's a lot of just knowing that not one person is going to have all the answers, and we have to kind of listen to the market a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, getting to the art part of it, because as much as I love talking pheno hunting and stuff like that, no offense to you, I want to have that discussion with Boston and Montana and those guys. I want to talk to you about these brands and the way that you've built, the separate identities, the multiple personalities of Show Me Organics, because a lot of times I think we see brands and they're replications of the same thing. It's a moderate change from one brand to the other. There's a pretty distinct difference between Vivid and Buoyant Bob and Missouri's Own and even Blue Sage. There's a cultural difference between the advertisements that you put out for Buoyant Bob versus Show Me Organics versus Vivid. Vivid had the really cool gift boxes last holiday. One looked like a wine box, one looked like a video game controller. Buoyant Bob has Josh Heinrichs and has some crazy Rasta reggae songs and stuff like that, and it has kind of trippy vibes and things. And then your Show Me Organics campaign that you were nominated for and won best advertising, best marketing campaign from Greenway, and I think you guys are either nominated or won a Clio for it as well. Is the Taste Your Own Medicine campaign, which is a very serious, very, I wouldn't say somber, but a completely different tone than what we see with some of the more lighthearted, more easy, more consumer targeted, hey, smoke this, have fun type of vibes. And this isn't the first time you guys have taken that approach. You had another campaign that was kind of the precursor to this about a year or two ago. And so instead of me explaining all the different things about what you guys have done and what you've built and the vision behind it. I'd love to hear, how you decided to create each of these things, what you saw working, what you hoped to see working, and maybe some of the things that didn't go the way you thought they would, or didn't come to fruition along the way.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think from the start, it's like understanding that strong brands have sharp points of view, and those are based off of consumer understanding. And so I think a lot of times when you see the sort of sea of sameness, or you see a house of brands where you can't really distinguish one from the other, it's probably a byproduct of serving too many masters, and trying to, speak to 5 different groups at the same time. Whereas you're able to really develop distinguished brands when we call it a design target. You have like a center bullseye of who this brand is for. Even if there are 7 other halos around that you're hoping to capture, you can at least hold this one person up as Buoyant Bob is for the person who just wants to smoke and doesn't want to deal with all of the, conversation around the science and the legal and the politics. It's just about the plant and it's fun. Right. So like understanding that, it's like, oh, well, Josh Heinrichs is like the human embodiment of that. So like, that's a perfect partner for us. And so, and he's a hash head, and you could say that he's also a perfect partner for Vivid, but Vivid isn't, if Bob is fun, Vivid is innovation and quality. And, that kind of derives a little bit more from this science kind of lab feeling. And so, the design target for Vivid is the expert customer who not only has been shopping and consuming since the legacy market, but has been growing their knowledge base all the while. And so like we talk about this infinite discovery loop that cannabis has. No matter where you are on the continuum of your journey, there's more you can learn, because humans haven't even learned everything about cannabis, right? There's like complex properties within the plant that we haven't even really figured out what they do yet. So as part of that, it kind of like layers down. You can learn about cannabinoids, and you can learn about terpenes, and you can learn about flavonoids and all this, but Vivid is going to be the brand that helps bring those people up, right? Bring those customers up in terms of expertise as well as, appreciation of quality. I would say that of the brands, while they're distinguished, Blue Sage and Vivid, there is sort of an overlap in the design target because it's also designed for the expert shopper. Now, it manifests differently at Blue Sage because there inherently needs to have at retail a welcoming feel, right? It needs to be, come as you are, anybody's welcome. So that expert shopper experience sort of manifests in, okay, deli style is how everybody should be shopping with their senses. We believe, you want to see it, you want to smell it before, the nose knows it's true. It's like, there are smells that Tim's going to like and ones that Brandon's going to like, and that probably is a good indicator of which strains you're going to like as well. And so the deli style experience, is a nice sort of way to foster just this like conversations about the product and education, and having a communal vibe inside the stores. But we also wanted that to feel accessible to someone who's coming into a dispensary for the first time. And so the like, come see your buds, the very sort of Americana vibe of the brand is intended to be like, no, this is the most legitimate version of the dispensaries that you hear about all over that you don't know. You're not sure if the Kratom store is different from the medical dispensary, from the gas station cannabis. And so what we really try to do is, leverage the history of the company as, born out of the owning pharmacies in Missouri for about 3 decades, turning that sort of, we're going to know your name, you're going to come in, and you're going to feel like part of the community here, has translated really nicely into the dispensaries. So you have kind of quality shopper for Vivid, you have fun shopper for Buoyant Bob, who's more value-based, obviously, inherently, and then Blue Sage is a little bit more of the kind of come as you are, but anywhere, as long as you're willing to learn and listen, we're going to help you. And then Missouri's Own, we really tried to frame as a sub brand of Vivid initially. The packaging rules made that a little bit hard, but you know, originally all of the gummies were under Vivid when we were a medical brand, and they, if you remember the little white boxes that they came in, the packaging has certainly evolved. Everything's evolved, but when I came aboard, it was obvious to me that like Vivid was sort of organically crystallizing its space in the market as this connoisseur expert brand, and having distillate gummies under that kind of felt at odds to me. And so rebranding the line of gummies that were going to have distillate in them as Missouri's Own, and finding a unique sort of way in that speaks to that customer. And that customer, it can be the lawyer who is looking for an alcohol alternative to, for relief after a long workday. It can be a teacher. It's really these folks who are looking to get into the market. And so, Missouri's Own was also a nice wrapper for us to do these partnerships with Red Hot Riplets, as you mentioned, with the coffee ethic. And so those things speak to that audience very specifically. And I think that's how, obviously in my mind, this is how it all kind of happened over time. But it takes years for these identities to form, and for you to be able to kind of say, no, like Vivid is different than Bob because of this, not because we say so, because we actually are serving that customer.
What's crazy about what you just said is normally 100% accurate. It takes years for you to build brand identities and differentiate the personality of each brand and find products that work within each brand. You didn't take years. You literally showed up, and within, 8 months, Tony Billmeyer is like kicking in the door like a SWAT team. Like, hey, we're going to change everything. And every, obviously we're not in the room with you, so I won't say every decision, but every public decision you guys have made since you came on board has been the right one. Every single time you guys have publicly made a decision. And I think that from a branding perspective, that's hard enough. But from a company perspective, to always show up on the right side of everything, time and time and time again, whenever you have Leanne, you have Boston, you have Montana, you have a cast of characters. Everybody there has has the same ethos, but very different approaches and different personalities. And then you guys just consistently make the right decision on who to put in the right place at the right time, and how to point your brands in each of these directions. And it really did start, from my perspective, when you arrived. They were doing great before, but you coming in and differentiating Missouri's Own, you coming in and really reestablishing Blue Sage to help reestablish Blue Sage as Blue Sage Cannabis Deli, those decisions along the way, and the role that you've played within the overall structure of helping them achieve their goals, and helping to delineate the pathway. I think that in a lot of ways goes unrecognized as to how integral you were to all of that.
That's super kind. Thank you so much. It makes me slightly uncomfortable. Second of all, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I think you touched on it, and to me, it's more correlation than causation. Honestly, I think that Boston and Montana, like Tim knows this, good marketers reflect what's true and real inside the company. And so, like, while I do appreciate and take your compliment it's because the bones of the company, that's what it is. And so I think, like, the the ethos and the sort of philosophical alignment that we all have is the real cause, not me coming on board. It's, I think I'm not the only human in the world that could have done this, but I think like a good marketer that also fits philosophically within what the goals of the company were and what Boston envisioned. I mean, I feel like there was just like a giant pile of kindling when I came on, and all I had to do was throw the match on. It's not really like, it didn't feel like, we were necessarily like reinventing the company, because, take the Red Hot Riplets, for example. So yes, that was something I brought to the company, but Montana was eager and keen to innovate and to do new things and to try stuff. And like, if you talk to another lab director or, a chief science officer of a company and ask them, hey, can we make some infused chips? Like 9 out of 10 are probably going to say like, that makes no sense from a production standpoint. Like, that's not an efficient use of our time. We're not going to do that. But he trusted in the vision and the process. And, then once they hit market and like the reaction happened, it's like, oh, this is great. This is what we thought would happen. So now let's capitalize on it. Let's keep rolling it. And then, obviously the state kind of shut us down with no more infused versions of non-THC products that are out in the market. So we RIP the Riplets, but right. It proves the power in those types of partnerships. And like, when you're thinking about, the other thing is, from my standpoint that I kind of brought to the table, is I wasn't really ever going to be satisfied with accepting the advertising opportunities that are presented to the cannabis brands. The like, go put us in the corner and we'll do our own events. And we're, like, it was always like, no, I'm going to die trying to get us into the mainstream. Like, we're going to be on the news. We're going to be, in the Post-Dispatch and that type of thing. And so, when you have that goal in mind, then you think about like, what equities can I leverage to make people pay attention and care? And like, we don't really have money to go do a big celebrity partnership in 2021. We don't really have like, the ability to go necessarily hire someone to bring that, but we have a bunch of really rich culture here in Missouri that we can kind of lock arms, and they can enjoy, the Riplet team can enjoy the benefit of crazy press just as much as we can. And so that,
I mean, as somebody from the St. Louis area, the Red Hot Riplets was a celebrity endorsement in my eyes. Like that's been on every sandwich I've had for 2 decades. Like,
yeah. Well, and the other thing, Tony, is a lot of people at Show Me, are amazing and have a lot to do with this, but and they gave you the environment to flourish, but at the same time, you are that vessel to make these, ideas come to life. And a lot of brands don't have that. And you've been there pretty much since day one of all of the great ideas. So having that experience, having the support around you to go out there and reach into your bag of genius marketing ideas, what a great place to be.
Thank you.
My follow-up is, there's got to be some turds in there, right? I mean, like, all of your ideas have really worked, but there's got to be, have there been some ideas that you thought would work that didn't, or ideas that you still think have a shot, but you could be off the mark, Yeah,
I mean, like, sure. You don't know something's going to work until it works, or at least until like the creative concept is baked and you see it and you put it in front of someone else and then you get that reaction, So like, sure. One of the things that when we launched Missouri Zone, the whole idea was like, let's do these unique Missouri fruits that some people might not even know about, right? So we did the pawpaw fruit, and the pawpaw fruit is amazing. Like, I love those gummies. It's got it's the thing with pawpaws, the insight that kind of drove that whole thing was like, pawpaws, you can't really even find them. You can't buy them at the grocery store. They are harvestable for like a week and a half, and they're known to be eaten by the raccoons and the animals in the forest. So like, a lot of people have never had a pawpaw, especially in the cities in Missouri. And so doing that was the right idea, but we thought it was also the right idea to do persimmon, and then you try to put persimmon in a gummy and it's kind of gnarly. So like, we're still hopeful that we can nail that, but that's been one that, like, in my mind, pawpaw persimmon, those would have been the launches. And, we've been trying for a while now. And it's just like, if we're not excited about the product, we can't put it out. Right. So, I would say that's one, but like, most of the times things that don't work die on the vine, right? They die of natural causes, I'll say.
Right.
And I don't know, like, wouldn't be eager to share a list of those, but because they might, be revived at some point. But
right. Yeah.
That's kind of like I think the other thing that is something I've learned in this role is like the stash of ideas, if you will, like having things ready to go or ideas kind of on the shelf ready to send is incredibly valuable. Tim, you've experienced this where like you go through years and years of round and round with a client and you have these great ideas, and at the end of it you look back and it's like, man, any one of those 20 ideas would have been fantastic. I mean, the one thing we made was fine or cool or whatever, but like, how much waste was there? And so I think one of the things I've really tried to I call it creative waste. It's like, no, like these things that are good ideas that we can't execute we can't execute them today. But like put it in the vault and we might be able to bring those things out later. And I think you would be shocked at how quickly you forget about things when you can't execute them. There are these great ideas that like we just didn't have time for or didn't fit into the plan or we didn't have budget for 2 years ago, 3 years ago that we keep around. And I think that's something I learned, out in San Francisco was, well, I didn't realize why it was important, but I always knew that we needed to send 20 ideas to sell one good one. It was kind of always the thing. But now I get it. Now it's like, oh, it's not that those 19 other ideas were a waste. It's that those are in the back pocket for the next time. Those are in the back pocket for, round two. Or if the idea that was sold in didn't work or did work, maybe there's a build on it. Maybe there's an evolution,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And in the creative world, I mean, Saturday Night Live, most times the skit that was cut for time ends up being the funniest one, or that's the one that's turned into a movie, and so that's really interesting. But yeah, always having those ideas that you didn't think either the timing was right or that still have some life to it. It's always good to like have those somewhere hidden.
Yeah, and
what I took away from all of that was Tony, in the most polite possible way, being just full Juan Soto and being like, I don't do anything except hit home runs. And
I don't think that's the case, but the other aspect of this, and you mentioned it earlier, Brandon, is the opioid effort that we've made our sort of, so Show Me Organics is the corporate company, and it doesn't really make a ton of sense to advertise regularly for the corporate handle because we have such a great identity with Vivid. We have such strong presence with Buoyant Bob and Missouri's Own and Blue Sage. So those brands need to live and fight on their own, but we want to imbue meaning on what we're doing holistically. What are we doing overarching that's driving the industry forward, that's driving culture and humanity forward? And I think our unique perspective, having the Dickersons come from a world of locally owned pharmacies into dispensaries in Missouri, and then ultimately manufacturing and now cultivation, we have a really unique perspective that is, they've seen the opioid epidemic unfold firsthand. And I've had friends affected. I've lost a handful of folks I've known, growing up, to the opioid epidemic. And so it's touched us all like tremendously. And, Boston has a story. We all have stories from how we've kind of personally been affected by it. But I think that was an easy thing for us to be like, okay, maybe this is where we should live as a sort of corporate identity and our corporate cause. And, knowing also that when you look at, so the opioid epidemic actually is going down for the first time. We've just hit the peak, hopefully, and hopefully we're on the down part of the roller coaster on this. But one of the things we learned was folks who relapse, I'm sorry, and utilize opioids not for their prescribed purpose, typically do so just because they didn't dispose of the pills properly. So that's the first thing that happens, is you just leave them in the cabinet, and then next time you can't sleep, next time you have a pain, you pull them out and use them. And so that felt just like an entirely solvable problem with cannabis, right? Like, we have FICO, we have this incredibly powerful, concentrated version of cannabis that does provide great therapeutic effects. It's pain relief. It does a million different things. People just don't really know about it, and because the opioids are more readily available, they are, the most commonly prescribed medicine for pain. And so, that's 2 years ago was a spoof ad. We did that look like a pharma ad that, kind of had some hard hitting copy and voiceover that talked about the dangers of opioids in a kind of tongue in cheek way. Last year was the Taste Your Own Medicine campaign, which is still live at tasteyourownmeds.com. If you want to check that work out. But this is also just like indicative of understanding that campaigns year over year gain momentum and there's inertia. And so, like, the fact that we planted our flag in the ground 2 years ago around this cause means that we have an opportunity to continue to push the ball forward, and every year it can get bigger and it can get better and it can have more impact and be more profound. And so, we're hopeful to do that again this year. But those are the kinds of, like, I think, marketing understandings that might be devoid from some of the other companies in the market is the power of, sort of compounding value in these campaigns year over year, and knowing that, whether it's a holiday box and making the customers start to think around Christmas time when they walk into the dispensary, what's Vivid going to do for the holiday box this year? Or, when opioid awareness times come around, and, just we want to own these times and places and things and causes, because that's how we can actually make an impact in the long run.
Well, and it's not just us that are wanting to pick your brain about these ideas. You're speaking at MJ Unpacked too, right?
Montana and I are both going out to Atlantic City, so we'll be there speaking this week.
Jeez.
So what are you guys presenting at the same time, or will you be speaking to the same things that we're discussing right now, to the marketing and brand development side? What's Tony doing at MJ Impact this week?
I am on a panel with 3 really brilliant women about how partnerships can unlock growth between brands and retail. And so, I think that has a couple of different sort of nuanced angles to it. One is the human aspect of, like, partnership and building relationships, and the importance of brands and retailers having strong connections. And then I think there's the whole, like, angle of that is a la Red Hot Riplets or Coffee Ethic partnership. That is, how do we kind of lock arms with partners and make ourselves more visible and more present in the market than we could be on our own?
So you're going to be doing the Stronger Together Innovative Retail and Brand Partnerships for Growth panel. That's going to be moderated by Katrina Yolen from CMB Strategies. You're going to be joined by Kate Giuliano from GTI, and Kate Miller from Miss Grass, a company that just made their way into Missouri recently. And that's over, that's tomorrow, from 1:30 to 2, I think, so super excited to see Missouri getting, more and more attention as we move to these events and stuff. Obviously, I think the entire Vivid team was a big part of MJ Impact in St. Louis last year. The panel that Boston was on with Adolphus and Sean Carriger and a few other folks. I don't remember. I don't want to misspeak, but I remember that being one of my favorite sessions. Was just talking about the market dynamics and stuff. And I think that, I've talked to George Jage from Jage Media that puts on MJ Impact a few times. I think one of the reasons that Missouri's starting to get so much traction is not just because people are finally realizing that we're such a healthy market, but because we have so many visible and talented leaders in our industry. Specifically, we've got John Pennington, who was out in Washington, D.C. recently. We've got characters like yourself and Montana and Boston, who are some of the most, knowledgeable and dynamic people at each of their positions. Josh Mitchum, I think, has always been a great figurehead. We could run down the list. Obviously, Adolphus, Tyler, and Brad over at Robust. We Joey and the team at Mitch. I mean, anytime you can put Mitch Myers in front of people, they're going to listen. But we have so many people that are so relevant to the cannabis industry as a whole because of what Missouri has built that I think we're starting to finally get the recognition that we weren't on a national scale outside of, suddenly paying attention to the fact that we've moved in, we continually move up numbers wise. I think people are starting to recognize why that is. And it's because of the ecosystem of people and brands and personalities and knowledge that we've kind of cultivated here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of credit goes to JH for bringing MJ Impact to St. Louis. I think that helps a lot. Also, the juxtaposition of the Illinois market to the Missouri market is pretty fascinating as well. And I love how, this Missouri market has unfolded. It's been incredible to watch. And a lot of the innovation that you get from starting with a bunch of smaller locally owned operators and slowly consolidating to bigger groups, you don't get in Illinois, where they sort of just fast forwarded the timeline to pick the winners, for lack of a better way to put it. They have fewer cultivators and kind of more powerful players at the table. So I think the results speak for themselves, and I hope that people, when they come to MJ Impact or they visit Missouri, that they're feeling that in the market as well, because the shelves have incredibly different and well designed brands, well thought through brands, product array that probably surpasses some of the markets that are a little bit older as well. So yeah, I think all of that is byproduct of the law we have set up here that has allowed that to thrive.
Well, Tony, I got to tell you, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, obviously we're massive fans of you and what you do, being a visionary for the Missouri market and for Show Me Organics, but also just being a good dude. I mean, you were the first person to believe in Green Frame. You were the first text and the first call that Brandon and I got when we started this podcast. I mean, it just says a lot. So thank you for being a good human, because good things happen to good people, and it's obviously working, looking at your track record. And you're also a straight shooter, which I really appreciate. We've had a lot of conversations where I've literally said, what do you think about this? Is this a good idea? Do you think I should do this? And you've been like, I don't know if that's going to work, or yeah, do it. And I really value your opinion, and I know Brandon does as well. So thank you for taking the time to chat with us. And congratulations on the continued amazing work that you and Show Me Organics has been doing here in Missouri.
Thank you, guys. The feeling's mutual. Love what you guys are doing here. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
You got it, buddy.
Well, I'm very excited because of what you've meant to the market, that you did not stay in journalism. Listening to you talk, I would 100% sign up to listen to your podcast, or listen to you just give me play-by-play of news every day. You have one of the most rich and dynamic voices, just conversationally, and I've always enjoyed like speaking to you and stuff like that, because of all the bullshit that Tim just said. But I genuinely, like, as somebody that it probably has a lot of mental illnesses that aren't even diagnosed yet, certain things just make my ears really happy, and your voice is one of them. So
that's very
I don't know what to do with that.
Me neither.
That's a weird fucking way to end, is right there. But that's what we're gonna do. So
I appreciate you guys. That's so nice. Thanks, Brandon.
I love how uncomfortable we've made Tony through this whole thing. So thank you, Tony. Have a great week, and good luck at MJ Unpacked.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Let's see you, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.